What's up guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Gregson and welcome back to Shifting Lanes. What you see behind me is a 2017 Honda CRV, and today I'm going to review it for you. But this isn't any ordinary review here on this channel. That is my car. And today, I'm going to tell you why it's good, bad, and a little ugly. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you like what you see, please hit the big red subscribe button. That really helps us out. And give this video a thumbs up at the end if you like it. Like I said, this is my car. Well, it's my family's car. My wife drives this car around normally to shuttle our kids around and basically to do anything that a normal family crossover, small SUV would do. And we've owned this car for over 2 years, and I thought it would be very interesting to kind of go through it. And this is the best-selling car in New Jersey, and for good reason. It's got all-wheel drive, it is incredibly popular, there's lots of space. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I thought it'd be really cool to kind of give an owner's review of the good, the bad, and the ugly, because on this channel we do a lot of reviews, and yeah, it's usually just press cars, but thought it would be really cool to show you guys sort of the ownership of one of the most popular cars in the entire US. So let's walk around the car. I'll give you a brief overview, then we're gonna hop in and we're gonna take it for a drive. So here's my Honda CRV. So before we set off, I want to tell you exactly what this car is and what it's basically equipped with. This is a 2017 Honda CRV EXL with navigation and all-wheel drive, meaning it's fully loaded almost. You get the top of the line in the touring package. This is one step down from the top of the line. It gets 27 mpg city and 33 mpg highway. It is a 190 horsepower, 179 foot-pounds of torque engine, 1.5 liter 4 cylinders. Curb weight is around 3,500 pounds, just over it. And it is 181 inches long, 73 inches wide, and about 66 to 67 inches high. It also has a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty if you were to buy this new. That carries over into any new cars that Honda's offering now. It also has a continuously variable speed automatic transmission, also known as a CVT, and you can fit 5 adults pretty comfortably. With this trim, you pretty much get anything you could ask for in a modern car. You get push button start, you get cruise control that's radar guided, you get emergency braking systems, any safety system that you could humanly think of, this car has. So I'm gonna start on the outside and then we'll work our way inside and then take a drive. The first good about this car is the styling. I really like the way this car looks. When we first got it, I wasn't sold on it. It is one of the better looking cars overall in the segment, because a lot of these small SUVs in this class, you get kind of this egg shape, but after living with it for a little bit of time, I do like it. One of my favorite aspects is sort of this front end here, the entire feature here. I like the sleek headlights, I like the DRLs, the way the fogs are integrated. The whole front end I think is quite good looking overall, because it's just a nice overall aesthetic, and I'm a huge fan of that, and I'm a big aesthetics fan in cars, so I think that this is really well designed. The rest of the car looks very nice. It's, you know, egg shapey in a way, but it's not over, it doesn't really hit you in the face with it. The overall aesthetic of the car is very nice. It's proportioned well. It's small enough yet large. I just like the overall aesthetic. I think it looks really good. Side profile looks great. The back end is really awesome. I really love the rear tail lights. I think that's a really nice design. I also love these 18-inch wheels. I think they're really sharp, and I think that they add a nice little sportiness to this car, even though it's not really a sporty car. Before we set off, I want to talk about another good of this car, other than the outside aesthetics, is the interior. The interior feels way more upscale than it rightfully should be. Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, Nissan, all of these cars are sort of your base level OEMs, if you will, your manufacturers, and you still get your luxury brands, obviously, like Lexus and Acura and all these others, and Infiniti and whatever, but you've seen recently a lot of luxuries kind of trickling down into the more quote-unquote basic brands, and that is really shown here in the CRV. Everything is soft touch rubber and it looks very nice. There's sort of this like fake plasticky wood, but honestly I think it looks really good for what it is. When comparing it to luxury cars, obviously you're not supposed to, because it's not the same thing, and others do it a little bit better than this, but for this car as it sits, I think it's quite nice. The overall interior is really nice. The seats are supremely comfortable. We've done tons of road trips in this car, and it is really comfortable from an interior seat perspective. The quality of the leather is really nice. There's tons of room in here. The back seats look great. The front seats look great. There's tons of cargo space. Overall, the interior as a whole is really, really good. And now I'm going to start to go for a drive, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it because there's something I want to hit on that really kind of sets this car above everything else in its class. So as I said off, what sets this above everything else in its class? This thing is an absolute packaging marvel, and I've said this about a couple of cars either on this channel or just in passing to friends. A few cars are the Honda Fit, the Toyota Prius, the second-gen Toyota Prius. This car is another one of those cars on the list. The XC40 from Volvo, another one of those cars. But by packaging marvel, I mean that this thing is way bigger than it actually is, and that's how it feels. 2 adults and 3 adults in the back feel like this is a 3-row SUV. The way this thing is laid out from top to bottom, there's tons of room in here. I also own a Volvo XC90. The interior of this car, though it is not, feels just as big as that SUV. It's unbelievable. I really, really feel like the CRV is one of the best packaged cars from an interior volume standpoint, a layout standpoint, in the entire auto industry. And when we bought it, that's what kind of sold me on this. The headroom is not great because you do feel that it's sort of car-ish in a way, but I'll get to that in the bad section. But overall, I mean, I'm sure that doesn't really make a difference to me, but overall, this thing is packaged amazingly well. And if I was to rate it on a scale of 100, this would be like a 97 or a 98 out of 100 as far as interior packaging and the way this thing is laid out inside. So let's go down the list of the rest of the goods about this car. The power is actually quite decent, I have to say. The power in this car, 190 horsepower. It's turbocharged 1.5. It's a CVT transmission, which I don't personally like because I'm an enthusiast, but it's good for gas mileage. It's a very simple transmission, so that's good. Overall, the power is quite good. If I put my foot down, it changes down, finds the right ratio, and it goes. There's plenty of oomph for the average consumer and the average commuter to utilize to get out of sticky situations, to get going when you're in a hurry, and if you really need it, it's there at your disposal. Now, I'm on sort of a bumpy back road. It's not really, that great, but it's not that poor. Ride quality. Let's talk about ride quality because that reminded me. Ride quality is very good. You get 18-inch wheels, but the sidewalls on the wheels and the suspension are tuned to, be a commuter car. You're not talking about a ton of, sportiness or overly soft, features here. You're gonna feel bumps. You're gonna feel, things, but you'll feel that in any car. Overall, it's really, really good for the class. I've reviewed both the Nissan Rogue and the Toyota RAV4. I feel like this has much better ride quality than both of those cars. So the next thing I want to talk about as I pull out is handling, because whether you consumers like it or not, take a note from the enthusiasts, handling matters in cars. It matters in all cars. Throwing this around corners like that, I have another camera set up. I'll do a split screen for you so you can see what I'm doing on this back road. The handling in this car is superb for a small SUV. Again, I've reviewed pretty much this entire class. The RAV4 is good. The Nissan Rogue is not great. The Honda CRV is by far the best handling out of all of them, and which I find very interesting because it also has really good ride quality. So that should speak volumes to the way Honda sort of tunes their cars from a suspension standpoint. They're fun, they're really good, and they just hug the road nicely. The larger wheels and tires definitely help with that. The best handling in class is still the Mazda CX-5. What Mazda does from handling standpoint is just really, really good. It's very driver focused, and it's overall the best driving in the class. This one, however, is just awesome. It's, for what it is, this is the best bang for your buck in the entire class, and I'll go over that at the end when I do the whole kind of reveal or overview at the end, if you will. Another good of this car is the MPG is spot on. 27 city, 33 highway is pretty much what you're gonna get. I've actually seen upwards of 35, 36 on the highway, depending on your speed. If you're not doing 80, 90 miles an hour, which you shouldn't be, you're gonna see well above what it normally is. On road trips, when I've pinned it, even at 75, which is, you know, what basically everyone drives these days, is I've seen 36, which is crazy. And that's not just on flat ground. That's no declines or inclines or whatever, what have you. Overall, this whole car is good. I think that's kind of the takeaway to if you're watching this video and you're thinking about buying a Honda CRV, go buy it, just because the whole experience is good. If you look at it from an objective standpoint, from what a small SUV should be, this is the benchmark, and it should be, because it does everything better than pretty much everything else. Subaru has better all-wheel drive. The CX-5 is a better handling car, but this thing just does everything well. And I believe that this is the best one on the market, hands down, from an overall standpoint. With all that being said, let's get into some of the bad points of this car. There aren't a ton, so this is a little bit nitpicky, I will admit, but these are things over the 2 years of ownership that I've noticed that really aren't the best in the world. First and foremost, is the headroom. I'm 5'6", so I'm kind of tiny as far as like a height perspective is concerned, so take that with a grain of salt. If you're 6'4", 6'5", you may totally fit in here fine, but to me, you may have a little bit of trouble depending on if you're a very tall person or not. Most people that are buying CRVs probably aren't 6'5", or 6'6", or NBA basketball players, so likely you're gonna fit in here fine. I feel the headroom is a little weird, just because the Subaru Forester and the Mazda CX-5 and the Toyota RAV4 all seemed much more airy in the cabin as far as headroom is concerned. So again, sort of a nitpicky thing, but it is a bad worth mentioning that if you're very tall, you may have a little bit of trouble fitting in here. Another bad is the driving position. While I think this is a great handling car, it's really good for road trips, there's just a couple things about the driving experience from a driver's seat perspective that I don't really like. First off, the steering wheel, it's very hard. It's leather wrapped, it's nice, but I don't know why. My hands get very fatigued on long road trips, so I almost kind of do this or have a hand down here. Like you absolutely shouldn't. You should always have your hands at, you know, 9 and 3 or 10 and 2 every single time. But it feels uncomfortable when you're driving for long periods of time and gripping it in the same spot for a long period of time. It just gets uncomfortable. Also, on top of that, the driving seat position, I feel so far back from the front of the car. I mentioned this in my Ford Edge review. The way all of these SUVs and crossovers are with the driver's seat so far back from the front of the car, this like acre of dashboard and, you know, nose in front of you, it just leaves me feeling very disconnected from the road. The handling is good, but that is, I just am not a huge fan of that. And on that same note, the steering in this car is weighted well, but I don't feel a lot of road feedback through this wheel. None of the vehicles in this class, less the Mazda CX-5, don't really give you a ton of road feel because of how these cars are set up for comfort and commuter and longevity as opposed to enthusiasm. I get that. It's just a bad that I've noted over time. Another bad of this car, which some of you may find a little bit interesting, is the cargo room. While the interior is laid out very well and there is a good amount of cargo room, I have 2 kids. Now, if you need to go to the grocery store, you have 2 different strollers, one stroller for the car seat that clicks into a base, and another stroller that might be a double stroller or for the older kid. You know, both my kids are under 2 at the time this video is being published, so we have 2 different strollers. And if you have both strollers back there, along with probably you're seeing right now some bags and other things that are back there, there's really not much room left for groceries or anything like that. Basically all you have is basically the back floor, and that's it. Because both car seats are in here, it's not as big as you think it is. If you have 2 kids that are over 9 years old that don't need car seats anymore, or however large your children are to then not necessitate a car seat, then this car is absolutely fine. You'll have tons of room. But if you have young kids that require diaper bags and strollers and this, that, and the other thing, and a pack and play and a million toys, this might be a little bit too small for you. I would honestly go with the Nissan Rogue. It is a larger vehicle and it seems to have a little bit more cargo room in the trunk if you want an SUV in this class, or maybe try to size up and get a used car from a 3-row or larger SUV class. Cargo room, while good, yeah, you may want to look at some other options if you have a lot that you're carrying around on a daily basis. The last bad I will give this car is, again, nitpicky, but it's the rear visibility. I can see perfectly fine out the back, but I wish they just laid it out a little bit better in the back to be less rounded and to square off the window just a bit more to get a little bit more visibility out the rear view mirror and out the rear of the car. Again, most people, if not all people, will find it totally fine. Just something that I have noticed over these 2 years of ownership that I wish Honda would have done a little bit better on. Now on to the ugly of this car, and this is going to be the biggest place where all of you guys go into the comments section and say, I can't believe it, is the reliability. This thing has been absolutely just riddled with problems the whole time we've owned it. Of course, I'm kidding. It's a freaking Honda, guys. Overall, you buy a Toyota, you buy a Honda, especially Honda, just because I've owned 2 or 3 of them in, you know, my car ownership experience, it's basically been problem-free. They've had 2 recalls on this thing. Both of them were done very easily. One was just for like the shift knob button. I mean, the car has been absolutely flawless for 2 years. Everything about this car has done exactly what we wanted it to, and then some. But in all seriousness, there is no ugly to this car. It's all just based on personal perspective. If you think that this car is physically ugly, then that's an ugly for this car. If you think that the other brands are better in reliability, then that's an ugly for the car for you. For me, this is the first car I've ever driven or reviewed on this channel that doesn't have an ugly to it. It's a Honda, it's reliable, it handles well, it's good in here, the interior is nice, everything is just really rock solid. There's no ugly to this car, which, you know, it's kind of a bummer, because these good, bad, and ugly reviews, I really want to have an ugly for each car, and you know, no car is without fault. I mean, obviously you've seen that in the bad of this car, but there's really no horrifically terrible thing about this car that you would find in some of the others. So yeah, that's like sort of the big shock about it, is there is no ugly to this car for me. It's very excellent to drive, and I quite like it. So there you have it, the first car I've ever driven, and it's mine, and I've reviewed on this channel, that does not have an ugly in a GBU review. To give you my final thoughts, an honest review of this car is, if you're looking at a small SUV, you need to have the Honda CRV on your list. If you don't have it on your list, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because this is an amazing small SUV. If you're a car enthusiast, you're probably not going to find a ton you really like about it, but if you're an average consumer, which is 99.9% of the people that are going to be buying this car, then you absolutely should. It's an amazing car, and you won't be disappointed when you drive it. If a RAV4 is on your list, look at the CRV. If a Rogue's on your list, look at the CRV. If a CX-5 is on your list, you might buy the CX-5 over this because of how it handles. But overall, I think this is a better car. That will do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I could give you sort of this unique perspective on a car you've probably seen a million reviews on online, but you don't have an actual owner's view on it and a review on that. So hopefully this was informational for you and you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please smash the thumbs up button. The Shift Squad needs to get us up more likes, so please give us the thumbs up. And if you've seen this and you like the video, hit the subscribe button. We do tons of reviews on this channel. We have project cars, we go to events, driving events, and we do all of the auto shows as well. So tons of content to come for you guys within the next year, and a lot of really exciting things we cannot wait to bring you. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, it is at Shifting Lanes pretty much anywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we post on all of them, and we post these videos on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can follow me at RealGregsonM, and that will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. See ya!